Governments around the world have spent the last year trying to quietly choke out VPNs, the single most normal piece of privacy software on the planet. And the absolute best part is that that entire plan is blowing up in their faces in real time. Like, you have probably seen those crazy headlines coming out of the United Kingdom and just thought, oh, that's just another like weird British like thing going on over there. It's not going to affect me. But the thing that you need to understand is that America is already building that exact same enforcement machine, except they're bolting it straight into your app store and also your operating system, which means this is very much about your software too. So here's what is actually going on. So over in the UK, there's an Online Safety Act. I think you might have heard about it. That just forces websites to check how old you are before you can even get in. And people immediately realize that they could just flip on like a VPN and just bypass the entire thing. But instead of admitting that maybe a law a 10-year-old could bypass with a free app is just like a broken law, well, lawmakers, they decide to go after the VPNs themselves. Like the UK House of Lords, they actually voted to straight up ban VPNs for anyone under 18. Now, that specific ban did get knocked back, so it did not become law, but the government has openly said that it is still circling the idea and set out to lay its official position on that this summer. And the second you notice that the exact same energy is spreading across the United States, you realize that this stopped being like a one country issue a long time ago. It is quietly turning into a war over who actually controls the software running on the device in your own hand. So you might be sitting there just wondering why on earth governments are just suddenly deciding that VPNs of all things are now just public enemy number one. And honestly, once it clicks, well, the whole thing is just kind of hilariously dumb. Like, these age verification systems basically rely on two things to function. They need to know like where, for example, you physically are, and they also need to know like who you actually are. And a VPN messes with the first one because the entire point of a VPN is just to hide your real world location and make it look like you're somewhere else entirely. So the moment that people started like using them to like dodge these checks, officials slapped the word circumvention on and decided that VPNs are now the enemy. And this is where it just gets like genuinely ridiculous, because a VPN is not some like shady hacker gadget. Like, it is the same like boring software your company makes you install, for example, to work from home. It is the same thing that's just keeping you safe from like sketchy coffee shop Wi-Fi. Like, it is what journalists, activists, and just like regular people who just do not want to be like tracked rely on every single day. So when a government just starts like talking about some like restricting VPNs to stop teenagers from sneaking past an age gate, what they're actually proposing is to make that everyday security tool just worse for every single adult in the entire country, maybe across the world. Like, they are trying to patch one tiny hole by blowing a massive one in everybody else's like online privacy. And the wildest part is that they genuinely seem to believe that they can just like legislate away the existence of basic privacy software while breaking like the rest of the damn internet in the process, which, spoiler, is not how literally any of this works in the first place. Now let me show you how the US is actually building its own version of this, and this part should grab your attention. So California will already pass a law that just bakes age checking pretty much directly into the operating system itself. So when you set up like your device, it is just supposed to flag how old you are right at that level, and that one kicks in 2027. And on top of that, there is a federal bill that got introduced back, I believe, in April that would force the companies making your operating system to also just verify your age when you set up your account or your device across the whole nation. And then there's Texas, which is honestly the perfect example of how messy and unsettled this fight really is. So Texas passed a law just forcing app stores to verify the age of every single person before they can actually download anything at all. But a federal judge took one look at the law and was like, yeah, this is unconstitutional, and just compared it to pretty much making every customer flash an ID at the door of a bookstore just to be allowed to like walk inside. And great, that sounds like a win, right? But there is a gut punch though, because an appeals court just stepped in, lifted that block, and a law actually took effect at the very start of June. So Texas is now actually the first state in the US where pretty much creating a new App Store account just legally requires you to prove exactly who you are. Like, the courts clearly smelled the problem, but the law went live anyway. And more than a quarter of US states have already introduced their own versions of this stuff. Like, this is not just some hypothetical, like, slowly creeping towards you. Like, it is already standing on your porch pretty much. Okay, so here is the part that basically completely flips the script on these lawmakers, and the best bit is that it is actually backed by like research, not just like vibes. So there is this study that pretty much dropped at the very start of June of this year that just dug into what people were like genuinely like doing when all these like age verification deadlines hit. And what they found is honestly vindicating. When the UK pretty much started cracking up enforcement, well, the conversation around VPNs absolutely exploded. But people doing talking, they were not just talking about like sneaking into like, I don't know, like Gooner stuff. Like they were just talking about privacy, like surveillance, and how little like they actually trusted like, these random age verification companies to safely hold onto face scans and their ID. Like in plain terms, well, the surge was pretty much a privacy revolt, not whatever the headlines like wanted like you to quietly assume. And the raw numbers from when these laws first landed are completely absurd. Like one major VPN provider reported their signups in the UK jumped from somewhere between like 1400 and also 1800 like percent, basically overnight. Like that is just not like a cute little bump. Like that is like an entire like country collectively deciding that they would just route around the law, then hand their identity to a random stranger. And there's also separate researchers showing that that spike was not mostly just kids trying to be sneaky. It was like ordinary adults who simply do not want to upload a photo of their passport just to read like an article, or I don't even know, like scroll their feed in peace. So the real story here is not even close to the one that like politicians keep trying to sell you. Like it's just like millions of completely normal people just quietly like deciding a mandatory ID for the internet is just a hard line that they are just not willing to pass. And this is where it goes from funny to actually inspiring, because the people who actually build the privacy software are not rolling over. Like the biggest like names in privacy like Proton, Mozilla, Mullvad, Tor, and also the EFF. They basically just joined together and started fighting back, firing off joint letters telling these governments to pretty much stop trying to undermine the open internet. Like they're flat out refusing to quietly turn their own tools into like government tracking devices, because like they know that the second they cave in one country, well, they just compromise their users everywhere on earth. And here is like almost like the poetic backfire that the politicians never saw coming in like, I don't know, a million years. Like every single time they announce a new shiny checkpoint, well, they accidentally just hand the entire privacy industry like the greatest free advertising campaign in like history. Like the harder they push, well, the more normal people rush to download like the exact tools they were trying to kill off. Like it's like the literal dictionary definition of like a plan running in reverse. And it gets even better because going after VPNs does not actually stop a single like person. It just shoves them toward like sketchy no-name apps that are way more likely to harvest your data and sell it off, which makes everyone like less safe, just including the exact kids they swear up and down that they are actually trying to protect. Like the honest truth is that the only governments who have ever like truly managed to crush VPNs are full-blown like authoritarian like regimes just running like, you know, crazy surveillance stuff in their internet. So yeah, that's it for this video. Like, comment, subscribe, all of that, and I will see you next time.